there's a reason rewrites happen. There's a reason writers' rooms happen. And it's because there should be a flow of ideas. And the things that I'm questioning a lot of the time, it just feels like these were first idea concepts that people just didn't want to think a little bit harder of how to execute. Hello, and welcome to Embodying Mystical Mac. I'm Mac. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. Today, we're going to be diving into Wheel of Time, Season 2, Episode 2. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for supporting that medium. If you want to go ahead and hop on over to YouTube when you get a chance, just check out my outfit. We're continuing. I don't know if I'm going to dress up every time, but I will dress up sometimes. And this is what we've got today, so I think I nailed it. Anyways, let's just get into episode 2. Just gonna be real with y'all. Did not get better for me. In fact, it kind of got a little worse. But you'll hear about that in my notes. I assume that you're here because you've watched the episode. I'm not even gonna do a spoiler-free review for this one. We're just gonna dive right in, okay? Before I get going with my detailed notes here, I say that like they're scrupulous, they're not. It's very clear to me that at this point, we don't really have any storyline aside from Egwene and Nynaeve and now Elaine at the tower that is going on a thread that is familiar to those of us who read the book. That is just my humble opinion. That is what I see with my eyes. If you disagree, feel free to do so in the comments. Just do so kindly, because we don't have time or room or attention span for disrespect here. Okay, so let's just get into it. First thing I said, I effing called Rand and Celine. Call me a foreteller. I called that. I don't know how to feel about it. It's not interesting. I don't know what to do with it, honestly. So, but I was just like, wow, I called that. She is in Kareen, which, I'm sorry, when I was reading the books, I was pronouncing it Karian, and now I'm gonna have to recondition myself. She was in Kareen, which that's accurate, so that's cool. So she owns an inn. I guess that's just her alias, her disguise. It kind of seems to be that way, given from her conversation with Rand about how he owes her. And Rand seems to work for some sort of asylum. However, I'm not sure if he works for an asylum only for madmen who potentially could have channeled and who are now stilled or whatever, or if it's an asylum in general and there just happen to be people like Logain there. Not a whole lot of thought on that. I guess that's how they're gonna get, obviously that's how they got Rand to learn some of the sword forms. Errol was teaching him his current charge, and then later on at the end of the episode we see that he gets Logain, so he'll obviously learn to channel sighting from Logain. I don't understand why Moraine's character is so bitchy. Like, I understand she's hurting. I understand she's going through really tough things. However, she's an Aes Sedai, which means that she's used to dealing with really tough, unforeseen situations, even when it comes to herself. And I just don't like how there's this just bitchy attitude towards Lan all the time. It just makes me feel like their bond really is kind of a joke, and that just kind of hurts me on the inside. And it feels like they're shitting on Moraine's character, because something that at least I thought to be true with the character they were building in the show is that she does care for this bond, and she really, like, Lan is her guy, you know, like her right-hand guy, and for her to be treating him like this, it just really bothers me. I don't understand why Perrin is still wielding a sword and not an axe. Maybe they're gonna get rid of that thing altogether because, you know, being a blacksmith really isn't part of his inherent character in the show like it seems to be in the books. But that's just a thought that I had. Let's see. The wolf passed vision for no reason thing strikes again. I get it. In my last video, people, you know, were giving out ideas of like, maybe it's just this, maybe it's just that. It's a play on like his wolf powers. And I I get that. I just really wish that this just seems, again, I think I said this in a comment that I replied to someone, a lot of these things, like a lot of these things that I'm bringing them up because they seem like first idea concepts. Like an example from last episode, I was harping on like, why is Moiraine fetching her own water? And so many of you are like, well, it's supposed to parallel like season 1, episode 1, or she could heat it with the power. And I'm like, I get that. That is not lost on me. I'm still gonna ask the question though, because for her to physically get her own water, for us to do some sort of callback to that, just seems like a first ideas concept. Meaning, they were like, we need a callback to when she could channel the power and make her bath warmer. And someone went, oh my god, what if she manually gets her own water and has to heat it and we like shoot her climbing up the hill with the water, blah, 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 blah. And someone's like, yes, cool, next thing. There's a reason rewrites happen. There's a reason writers' rooms happen. And it's because there should be a flow of ideas. And the things that I'm questioning a lot of the time, it just feels like these were first idea concepts that people just didn't want to think a little bit harder of how to execute. This wolf vision thing is kind of like that for me too, because sure, we could show it in a visual medium, make him have a vision. Sure, that is an available option. However, was there no other option that would make it a little bit more obvious that it's a wolf thing? These are just questions I have. What kind of feels like, at one point in the episode when he did the wolf past vision thing, it kind of felt like that was a tool to get Elias to notice that Perrin was different and a lot like him. If Elias is a wolf brother, which he is, he's got the nose of a wolf. And I would imagine all he needs to do is sniff Perrin, not even from up close, to know that he's one of their own. So it felt heavy-handed for me. Ingtar reacts really interestingly at the dead Fade. There's a really interesting close-up of him, and I'm wondering if maybe he thinks the Fade was after him, if maybe in some long shot he has some sort of emotional attachment to the Fades, because, spoiler alert, he's a dark friend. I wasn't sure what that was, but I actually really, really enjoyed that shot, and that guy acted it really well. The accepted at the healing session with Liandrin and Nynaeve, her acting was a little rough for me at first, but then she definitely got a lot smoother. And I really enjoyed the way that they did the accepted dresses. Like the way that I kind of imagined that in my head was always very campy and like not very elegant or sophisticated. And the way that they did it, which kind of just seems like they were like petals of different colors, you know, surrounding the collar, or not the collar, the cuff of her sleeve. And I imagine that's the same pattern that's on her hem. That was pretty cool. I appreciated that. Liandrin not lobbying Nynaeve with false promises to be a red. Ick. I don't know how to feel about that. I obviously hope Nynaeve still goes towards yellows, but I don't know. I don't love this idea of like Liandrin being the one to take Nynaeve under her wing. I like that they kept Matt's personality a little bit consistent to his personality in the book, even though his circumstances are so different. Next, I didn't hate Elaine's intro, but I also didn't love it. I would have appreciated if they were gonna go with, you know, her arranging her own room and having that kind of like bratty line of like, oh, I've seen closets bigger than this. I kind of would have appreciated if there was a moment, you know, there was the moment where she realized that Egwene's room was not going to be opulent like hers. In fact, it was as it had been left when she first got there, right? And instead of apologizing, she just kind of like pretends she wasn't a little brat. And I recognize that the show has, I guess, ample freedom to change everything they want about this, but it just felt like if I didn't know Elaine's character from the book, I would have gotten an unlikable impression of her. And I just really, that is unfortunate to me because Elaine is supposed to be rather likable. And I think that there was a way to make her likable and show that she can be a bit of a brat. I really didn't appreciate all the daughter heir stuff right from the jump. Like later on, we have that scene in the doorway where everybody's addressing Elaine. And so it would have been obvious to Egwene a little bit later on that Elaine is the daughter heir. I think it would have been far more interesting for Elaine to have gotten an introduction that had nothing to do with that. In fact, you know, kind of similarly to how it went without the daughter heir stuff and with an added apology of like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. I'm just, where I come from, there is a lot more, you know, where I come from, I was used to a very different life before here. Just something like that, you know, and then the stuff about like the greatest pairings, you know, have been novices that roomed next to each other. Like, if that apology had been there, that last part for me would have felt a little less pretentious and a little less unlikable. But because that wasn't there, it felt pretentious and it felt a bit unlikable. So I didn't really love her intro. I also didn't hate it, but these are my reasons. I don't understand why Alana's warders are in a meeting with Shiriam. And I certainly don't understand why they're chiming in frequently. It's not that warders aren't informed, and it's not that warders, you know, don't share their opinions with their respective Aes Sedai, but it's typically the Aes Sedai who would share her opinions with fellow sisters and kind of leave the warders out of it, especially if another sister or novice or accepted is in question. So I just didn't really like that. Perrin's goofy lines to let us know his senses are still heightened. We saw last season that his senses are heightened. I don't understand why we need to be so heavy-handed about it. Maybe some of you who, like, if some of you forgot about that, let me know. But I just feel like they're being really heavy-handed with it. I feel like they're doing Varen pretty well so far. I'm kind of interested to see how she is like around a group of people, because one of the things about Varen is she tends to act kind of aloof, but she actually is way dialed in what's going on. However, I would imagine that, like, you know, around her sister and her warder and familiar people such as Maureen and Lan, she might not act quite as aloof as she does when she's in public. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens there. I also really appreciated the conversation that Varen and Maureen had regarding the dragon, where Varen was kind of testing her. And I also appreciate in that conversation that they talked about, they kind of clue us into the loopholes around the truth oath, right? Because every Aes Sedai has to take an oath of truth, like basically vowing that they'll never lie. However, it is very commonly known throughout the land that Aes Sedai don't always tell the full truth, or they tell parts of the truth that maybe weren't quite the parts you were looking for. And so I really appreciated that conversation went into that. Elaine gets a little bit of a redemption later in the scene with Shiriam in the hallway, where she takes the punishment for the opulence in the room. And I do appreciate that scene for another reason, and it's that it shows us that in the tower, all of the girls are equal. It doesn't matter where you came from. If you are a daughter heir, if you are, you know, part of the sea folk, if you are from the Waste, although the Waste, they don't send their girls to the tower, they train them themselves. Yeah, I appreciated that. That was a really cool little addition to the scene. I didn't understand the scene with Leandrin's son. I kind of got a feeling that it was her son because she called him my boy. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that was for or all about. Maybe it was because, you know, later on we see that she's the one who set in motion for Nynaeve to become an accepted before she's ready kind of thing. She has a line where she says, like, you know, I regret doing this to you now, but too late. The things haven't set in motion and now you gotta come with me. So maybe it served to, like, make Leandrin feel, I don't know, be a little bit humanized towards Nynaeve and maybe Nynaeve humanized toward her. I don't fully know. I also don't understand why she rejects and slaps Nynaeve when she's literally giving her a way to help the real pain going on with this person that she cares about. Like, that does tell us, I guess to me what that told me about Leandrin is that her pride is more important than even like helping the people that she loves. And I don't know if that was the message that that scene was supposed to send, but that's what I got. Min is now gonna be Matt's love interest. I swear. This is where they're going. And we're acting like we didn't meet her already. Although I did realize that Matt hadn't met her. So there's that. But yeah, I don't know. I'll just leave that hanging there. I have no idea how this storyline is gonna go. I guess that's just something I see happening. I enjoyed the fire scene between Moiraine and Lan and Varen and Tomas and Adelaus. I thought that was sweet. Why is Min seeing Matt kill Rand? Again, like, this is just a question that I have because at this point, I really don't know what part of this is even Wheel of Time anymore. Obviously, that's a question I'm supposed to have as an audience member. Yeah, I guess we'll see where this goes. Elaine gets a little bit more of a redemption for me again. I really appreciated the room conversation and how she's friendly with Egwene, but she also like doesn't bullshit her and calls her out a little bit on her shit. So that was cool. I also appreciated like her sharing a little bit of her, you know, like her drink basically that she made, and her sharing a little bit of her life in the palace, right? How she didn't really have a lot of friends and whatnot, had to keep herself busy. When Nynaeve finally gets to the Arches, I wonder if there was no better way to get her there. This kind of falls in line with I don't really love the fact that it's Leandrin who is training or trying to train her. I would have preferred if it was Swan instead, like I believe it is in the books. But she's here, you know. It feels a little bit unearned with what they've done. Like, I would have appreciated if they're going, okay, let me rephrase. Because I recognize that in the books, Nynaeve basically gets to the tower and gets initiated as an accepted. So you could argue she's definitely not ready and definitely doesn't have any reverence for the White Tower at this point. So it definitely isn't really earned. However, that kind of serves the story at that point in time. Her coming to the tower, having, 5 months, 6 months of training where she's basically like blowing things off to go train with the warders instead. She's basically being like a really not model novice. And I'm not saying every novice needs to be a model, but she's like almost working against being a good pupil of the White Tower. And then all of a sudden she just gets, it's kind of like what Egwene is saying in her monologue, how it's like Nynaeve literally blows everything off and then gets ahead. And that is fair for her to feel because it is what's happening. But even as an audience member, I just kind of felt like the Arches were a little bit unearned. I really hope Nynaeve isn't going to be a mentee to Leandrin. Moiraine and Lan's bond is, I said, dead, non-existent, never existed. Why are we rendering Lan so fucking powerless? I don't like that. Again, like I feel like they're shitting on their bond. I get that Moiraine has her agendas, has her reasons, yada yada, whatever. But like one of the things that I loved the most in the books is the bond between Moiraine and Lan. Even when she goes through the shit of getting trapped in the Tower of Genjai, even when, there's tension because of Nynaeve and things like that, even like all throughout, like they are thick as thieves in the most wholesome, in the most lovely, in the most inspirational way possible. And it just really, really, really makes me upset that they're not honoring that at all, man. Like, please, you guys aren't honoring most things at this point. Pick one thing to honor, let it be this, like, but no. I guess like the intro to this Shanchan was pretty good in terms of like opulence, power, getting the effect across. One thing that kind of took me out is why is Ishamael openly with Suroth? I assume that that's Suroth at the top of the Palatine. Yeah, why is he so openly with Suroth? I get that nobody knows what he looks like now. Like, meaning nobody knows that that's Ishamael of the Forsaken right now. However, once the world gets to know what he looks like, I mean, unless he plans on changing his face for the rest of the world, which that's possible, I guess. But, like, unless that is the case, which we don't know that right now, why is he openly standing right there and potentially exposing her and the Shanchan as dark friends? That just took me out a little bit. I don't know what the reason for that was. Like, I get that we're supposed to see, you know, like, ooh, these people are bad guys. But again, like, if they were to take a page out of the book, they would leave us alone thinking that the Shanchan were kind of more free agents and not necessarily affiliated with the side quite yet. In spite of the fact that there obviously are people in the Shanchan that are dark friends. But anyways, again, they're doing their own thing, and in their own thing, Ishamael is just openly standing with them. I literally put close to no threads left that are even close to what Wheel of Time is. And then my last note was Logain will teach Rand to channel sighting, which I would imagine that's the case. That is what they're hinting at. Okay. This is my thing. And I'm gonna disclaim again because some of y'all, not most of y'all, no, most of y'all are lovely, lovely people. But some of y'all think that Amazon's Wheel of Time is worth disrespecting other humans who disagree with you. So I'm just gonna disclaim right here. My opinion of this show is not my opinion of you and your taste in television. If you particularly enjoy this show, whether you read the books or not, that is your prerogative, and I'm grateful that there are people out there that are enjoying this show, because there was a lot of effort that was put into it. There was obviously a lot of money that was put into it. The people who worked on it probably, definitely, at least from what I'm seeing, worked very hard on it. So I'm glad that there's an audience out there that is enjoying it. However, I am allowed to disagree with those opinions, and that is all I'm doing. Not disagreeing with your taste in television, not saying you have horrible taste because you like this thing. I'm saying that I do not like this thing that you like, point blank, period. And again, most of you are beautiful people. And then there are the little bits of you that like to, again, be disrespectful in different ways and, you know, saying like, did you even read the book? Because blah, blah, blah this, blah, blah, blah that. Listen, yes, I did. And I love them. And I'm actually rereading them. However, I'm a different person from you, and I will ask different questions of this show from you, and certain answers will suffice for me, and certain won't. And part of the reason why I'm asking these questions in the first place is because the obvious answer that I can definitely see what they were trying to do just doesn't do it for me. And unfortunately, with this show, a lot of the choices that they've made just don't do it for me. And having the books to compare it to is quite an interesting experience because there's so little left of them in the show, and yet it still feels like they're kind of trying to tie it back somehow. Kind of like, it almost feels like they think that they can completely change the first half of the story to then kind of come back and connect it back to the written source material in the second half. And I just don't see that working out. It's not working out for me right now. I don't see that it's gonna keep working out. Some of you have already warned me for episodes 3 and 4 to just buckle up, and I'm a little scared. So anyway, this is my opinion on episode 2 of season 2 of Wheel of Time. Let me know what you thought, respectfully, kindly. We can all have differing opinions and still be respectful humans to each other. That's how you build a community with people that you can have awesome discussions about media about. So give it a try. If you don't want to give it a try, that's okay. The block button is available to me and I will use it, because as beautiful of insights as you may have, if you throw disrespect in there, it's just not gonna fly on my channel and in this community that I am that I am building here. Yeah, I'm excited to come back with you with my thoughts for episodes 3 and 4. In the meantime, you have an Eras Tour review to look forward to, as well as a surprise movie review to look forward to. I'm not gonna tell you what the movie is, but it really lit a fire under my ass, this movie. So I'm excited to put that review out. And of course, The Little Mermaid, it is now available on streaming, so you'll be getting that review too. Thank you. If you've made it this far, please, please, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please click that bell, because I do post regularly, but I don't post on a schedule. And leave a comment letting me know what you thought of my outfit, my little jewelry here, of my little Aes Sedai Great Serpent ring. What you're thinking of the show, how you're feeling so far. Did you read the books? Did you not? Let me know down below. If you would like to financially support me a little bit more directly, the Venmo, PayPal stuff is all down there in the description. You can also check out my affiliates. I only have a couple of them, or you can book a tarot reading. And those are really fun. So check all that out if you haven't already. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me at Embodying a Mystical Mac. I have an Instagram and TikTok, but I'm more active on Instagram. And I have been making music for the last few months, and I'm gonna continue to do so until I'm ready to release it. That will be under at Mac in the Music if you wanna follow that journey. Thank you so much for being here. I'm incredibly grateful that you guys enjoy this content. I absolutely love these books, and in spite of the fact that the show is not making me feel like they respected these books at all, I'm still having a blast coming on here and discussing it and getting to see what you guys think. So thank you so much. Stay mystical, stay grounded, and may you always find water and shade. And if you haven't noticed, I am one of those Aes Sedai that refuses to just dress in my Aja colors all the time, okay? That is what the shawl is for. We didn't bring it this time because it's hot in my apartment right now. But yeah, we represent. We got some yellow jewelry here. We got my forever yellow pendant here. You know, and I would have been a blue, most likely, if not, so. We got that going on. Okay, stay mystical, stay grounded, water, shade, mwah, bye!